This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, the wedding of Hope Logan and Carter Walton was supposed to be the end of an era, the final word on a history riddled with heartbreak, betrayal, and impossible love triangles. It was supposed to be clean, definitive. Hope marrying a man who offered loyalty, respect, and safety. A new life. A quiet chapter. It was supposed to bury the past. Instead, it blew everything wide open. Hope Logan walked into the Forrester Estate Chapel in a white dress, determined to prove something, not just to the guests, not just to the press, but to herself. That she had moved on. That the chapter called Liam Spencer was officially over. That her decision to marry Carter wasn't about rebound or convenience, but growth, progress, reclamation of self. But from the moment the ceremony began, something was off. Her smile never quite reached her eyes. Her hand trembled slightly as she held Carter's. Even the guests, Brooke, Ridge, Steffi, Finn, and the rest of the Forresters, sensed it. And then it happened. Right before the vows. The doors burst open. A man in a dark suit stepped forward. A lawyer. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Carter's brow furrowed. Hope turned pale. The man introduced himself as the executor of Liam Spencer's private estate plan. He held up a sealed envelope. He announced, with clear authority, that Liam's last will and testament had just been unlocked due to a triggering clause. He was there to read its contents. The crowd gasped. Brooke stood up, visibly shaking. Ridge moved to the aisle, trying to intercept. But it was too late. The lawyer broke the seal and began to read. Liam Spencer, knowing his condition was terminal, had left behind a revised will, a document no one had seen until now. In it, he stated that in the event of his death or medical incapacitation, his controlling shares of Spencer Publications, an empire his father built, would be passed to Hope Logan and their daughter Beth. But there was a condition. Hope could not marry under false pretenses. Specifically, the document outlined that no transfer of Spencer assets will take effect unless Hope's union is proven to be founded on genuine love, not self-protection, retaliation, or manipulation. The chapel went still. Cameras, positioned discreetly by fashion outlets to cover the wedding, suddenly began rolling again. Phones were raised. News alerts were already being drafted. The ceremony didn't just stop. It froze. Carter, stunned, turned to Hope. His face didn't show anger, just pain. Deep, raw pain. He asked her one question. Is this about love, or about proving something? Hope didn't answer. Before she could, another shock hit. Liam Spencer, supposedly bedridden, too weak to speak, much less walk, entered through the same doors. He was pale, clearly unstable, but very much alive and moving. The room erupted. Brooke cried out his name. Steffi's hand flew to her mouth. Finn moved instinctively toward him, but Liam raised a hand and motioned him back. I have something to say, Liam said, voice cracking from exhaustion, but steady in its purpose. He stepped down the aisle, locking eyes with Hope. I signed that will because I thought I was dying. Because I thought Hope deserved to know where she stood. Not with me. Not with Carter. With herself. He looked around. Everyone thinks this woman has to choose. Between me. Between Carter. Between chaos and calm. But what she really needs is space, to be honest. With all of you. With herself. Hope was shaking now. Liam stepped closer. Hope, if you're marrying Carter because you love him, say it. Look me in the eye and say it. I'll leave. I'll go back to the hospital. I'll finish this fight alone. But if you can't say it, don't walk down that aisle. The room held its breath. Hope looked at Carter. His face was composed, but the heartbreak was unmistakable. He nodded once, silently giving her permission. No, a challenge to choose for real. No pretense. No performance. Hope's lips parted, but no words came out. Instead, she slowly turned toward the guests. Her eyes swept the room, landing on her mother, on Ridge, on her daughter, and finally on Liam. She took a step back, then another. "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't do this." Carter closed his eyes, nodded again, and let go of her hand. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't gasp. They simply stood in stunned silence as Hope walked off the aisle, out the door and away from everything that had been built up around her. Liam collapsed shortly after. Finn rushed to his side. He was taken back to the hospital immediately, surrounded by a whirlwind of press, confusion, and unanswered questions. But one thing was clear: Liam's will had done what no speech, no therapy, no confrontation could. It forced the truth into the open. Hope didn't marry Carter. She also didn't walk back into Liam's arms. She walked into the unknown. In the days following the ceremony, that wasn't. The aftermath rippled through every corner of LA. Bill Spencer, blindsided by the secret will, was livid. He demanded answers from his legal team. Brooke tried to get through to her daughter, but Hope went silent, refusing interviews, calls, or statements. Spencer Publications' board was thrown into turmoil. The question of who would take control of the company became the hottest topic in the business world. But the more pressing question? What now? Hope Logan stood at a crossroads. She had broken one man's heart. She had turned away from another. And she had been gifted power, real power, under a condition she now couldn't fulfill. Carter withdrew from public view, choosing to return to work quietly at Forrester Creations. He made no public comment, but was seen removing his engagement ring quietly from his desk drawer. Liam, recovering slowly, had no regrets. "If I die," he said to Finn in the hospital, "at least it's not with a lie hanging over her head." But whether he lives or dies, whether Hope comes back or not, whether the company ends up in her hands or in chaos, the damage has already been done. Hope's wedding was meant to be a declaration of peace. It became a declaration of war. And the bold and the beautiful will never be the same again. Hope Logan never returned to the altar. She didn't go back to Carter. She didn't rush to Liam's side. She went silent. For 72 hours, no one knew where she was. Until she walked into Spencer Publications in a beige trench coat. No makeup, hair pulled back, and a copy of Liam's will clutched in her hand. Security tried to stop her. They didn't succeed. Hope Logan walked into the executive boardroom and took a seat at the head of the table. Half the board was already there, expecting chaos, confusion, and likely legal limbo. But instead, they got Hope. Calm, precise, and prepared. She slid the document across the table and said the words no one expected to hear, effective immediately. "I will be assuming Liam's voting shares and the controlling interest outlined in his will. Until he recovers or this transfer is overturned by court, I'm your new CEO." Silence. Then chaos. Executives whispered. Lawyers leaned in. The CFO tried to stall. Someone called Bill Spencer. But none of it stopped her. The clause was airtight. The condition had already been triggered. Unless Liam came forward and revoked the provision himself, Hope had legal control of Spencer Publications. Bill Spencer arrived 20 minutes later, furious, but not surprised. He had warned Liam about sentimentality, about letting emotions dictate business. Now his son's lingering obsession had gifted the company to a Logan. Again. Hope stood when Bill entered. She didn't flinch. She didn't back down. She just handed him a copy of the transition plan she'd drafted in the night. "I'm not here to steal your legacy," she said. "I'm here to protect it. From you. From chaos. From everything that's dragged this company through the headlines." Bill narrowed his eyes. "This isn't fashion, Hope. This is blood, mergers, press wars, oil, distribution, defense contracts. It's not soft." Hope looked him dead in the eye. "Neither am I." And just like that, Hope Logan, daughter of Brooke, ex of Liam, the woman whose life had been defined by heartbreak, betrayal, and indecision, became the most powerful person in the Spencer empire. The press was relentless. Headlines flooded the internet within hours. Hope Logan declares CEO status at Spencer in shocking takeover. From wedding aisle to boardroom, Logan controls billion-dollar empire. Carter Walton left at the altar, Hope now running Liam's company. Spencer's stock trembled, then stabilized. Analysts were skeptical, but intrigued. She held majority voting rights. She had a strong public image. The Logan brand, though polarizing, was undeniably bankable. Advertisers didn't pull. Investors didn't bail. Behind the scenes, Bill tried to block her. He filed for an injunction. It failed. The courts upheld the clause in Liam's will. Unless Liam officially reversed the transfer in writing or died, Hope held the seat. And Liam? He was still in the hospital, recovering from his first rounds of chemo. Weak, tired, but watching the news unfold from his bed. When he saw Hope behind the Spencer podium, taking questions in a sharp navy suit and zero emotion in her voice, something in him shifted. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was regret. Maybe both. He turned off the TV and stared at the wall. Meanwhile, Hope made moves. She cleaned house. She fired 3 executives loyal to Bill who had tried to undermine her. She brought in a new communications director. She paused a controversial acquisition deal that had been tied to environmental damage overseas. She reopened talks with advocacy firms about ethical publishing standards. And she called a meeting with Wyatt Spencer. Wyatt was stunned to see her in the CEO's office, sitting where his father once sat with a cigar and a bottle of scotch. She greeted him politely. Formally. Then she got to the point. I want you as COO. I trust you. I know you care about this place. But I won't tolerate backchanneling. You're either with me, or I'll find someone else. Wyatt didn't even hesitate. I'm in. Hope didn't look back. She became the face of Spencer Publications overnight. Interviews, media tours, quiet dinners with investors. She leveraged her influence from the fashion world. Logan Prestige. She reframed the company as a modern, progressive powerhouse, less about blunt force, more about calculated reach. Ridge watched the headlines and muttered that Brooke's daughter had finally inherited her mother's fire. Brooke, for once, said nothing. Just watched her daughter rise. But not everyone was thrilled. Carter Walton, humiliated in the press, refused to speak publicly. But privately, he told Ridge that the woman who stood him up wasn't the same woman he proposed to. Hope doesn't just want to be loved anymore, he said. She wants power. Steffi didn't buy it. She warned Finn that Hope was spiraling, that she was hiding behind a desk instead of facing her heart. But Finn wasn't so sure. He saw control, focus, discipline. And then came the letter. Delivered by hand to Hope's desk. Written in Liam's handwriting. You were right. I didn't believe in myself until you stood up for me. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm asking you to believe in what you've built. You've earned it. Don't let anyone, especially me, take it from you. Hope didn't cry. She just folded the letter and locked it in her drawer. She didn't visit Liam. She didn't return Carter's calls. She sat at the top of Spencer Publications, staring out at the Los Angeles skyline, alone, but finally not broken. For the first time in her life, Hope Logan wasn't reacting to someone else's choices. She was the choice. And the game had just changed forever.